If you're scrolling through endless specs trying to decide whether a gaming laptop is worth the splurge, you're probably looking for something that just works: reliable performance, a screen you can stare at for hours without eye strain, and a price that doesn't feel like a gamble. You want a machine that can power through the latest titles, survive a full day of classes or meetings, and still feel decent when you toss it in a backpack. That's the kind of dilemma I faced when I started comparing mid-range gaming laptops for my senior year projects and weekend raids. I didn't want a flashy brochure piece. I wanted a laptop that would actually hold up when I switched from a Unity engine build to a 1080p sports marathon. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about who this NIMO 17.3-inch laptop might actually serve. If you're a college student majoring in game design, a freelance video editor, or a gamer who refuses to sit on a couch for marathon sessions, the combination of a Ryzen 7 7735HS and 16 GB of DDR5 does a lot of heavy lifting. The processor can turbo up to 4.75 GHz, which means compile times in Unity drop by a noticeable margin compared to a typical i5-based notebook. The 1TB NVMe SSD gives you room for a gigabytescal engine project, a handful of AAA game installs, and still leaves space for large video files. For those who need a mix of productivity and play, the laptop's Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2 keep the connection stable whether you're on a dorm floor or a coffee shop. Now, keep in mind that the gaming label often hides a set of trade-offs. The biggest one for this NIMO model is heat. The 17.3-inch chassis gives the fans a bit more breathing room than a 15-inch design, but under sustained load, think a 2-hour stretch of Cyberpunk 2077 at high settings, the laptop climbs into the high 70s Celsius and the fans kick up to a noticeable whine. It isn't a screaming turbine, but it does become a distraction during quiet study sessions. If you need a truly silent environment for video calls or recordings, you'll either have to keep the performance dialed back or accept the fan noise. That said, the heat management is decent for the price point. You'll notice a cooler surface on the palm rest compared with some cheaper gaming rigs that push the heat straight into the keyboard. Speaking of the keyboard, NIMO equipped this laptop with a full-size, 17-inch layout that includes a numeric keypad, a rarity on gaming laptops. The keys have a modest travel of about 1.4 mm and a firm actuation point, which feels satisfying for both fast FPS inputs and lengthy typing sessions. I ran a week-long coding sprint with it, and the tactile feedback helped reduce finger fatigue when writing scripts for a virtual reality prototype. However, the backlighting is single color and not very bright, so in a dark dorm room you'll probably need an external lamp to see the keys clearly. The display is where the NIMO really tries to stand out. A 17.3-inch Full HD IPS panel with anti-glare coating means you can game near a window without the screen washing out, and the 180 Hz refresh rate, when you enable it, delivers buttery smooth motion in competitive shooters. In practice, I noticed a clear advantage in titles like Valorant, where every millisecond counts. The higher refresh rate made tracking enemy movements feel less jittery compared to a 60 Hz screen. For creative work, the color accuracy is decent out of the box but not calibrated for professional photo editing. If you need a color-critical monitor, you'll want to invest in a calibration tool, but for most gaming and streaming content, the picture looks vibrant enough. Battery life is always a hot topic for gaming laptops, and here the trade-off is obvious. The 17-inch chassis holds a 71 Wh battery, which translates to roughly 4 hours of mixed-use, some light browsing, a bit of spreadsheet work, and a short gaming session at low settings. If you plan to run a game for more than an hour on battery alone, you'll need to plug in. The good news is the 100 WPD fast charging via a GAN adapter gets you from 0 to 80% in under an hour, so a quick charge in a library or dorm hallway is feasible. For anyone who expects to game unplugged for long periods, this isn't the best choice, but for a student who can plug in between classes, it's manageable. Now let's balance those strengths against the price. NIMO positions this model around the mid-$1,300 range, which undercuts many mainstream gaming laptops that bundle RTX 3060 graphics. The Radeon 680M graphics solution isn't on par with a dedicated RTX 3060, but it does handle titles like Fortnite, Apex Legends, and even the newer Elden Ring at medium-high settings comfortably. If your primary use case is indie games, 2D titles, or older AAA games, the integrated Radeon graphics are sufficient and the cost saving is noticeable. However, if you're aiming to play ray-traced titles at high settings or want to do serious GPU-accelerated rendering, you'll feel the limitation.